Round 2 of this year's Champions Cup was the best round of pool games we've seen in many, many years. My name is Mark, let's talk rugby. Okay, so let's go through the games from the weekend, like a lot of really close results and, a lot of really exciting games as well. We start with the Friday games. First up is Northampton 22, Toulon 19. So we start off Toulon, Hervé puts them ahead from the tee, but pretty much from the restart, Seabrook is over to score a try for Saints. Conversion is missed, but then Furbank, he goes over for a second try for Saints before half time. Again, the conversion is missed, but they're leading 10-3 at half time, which is, pretty decent in what is looking like, a not too high scoring game. Then into the second half, we have Jaminet gets over for Toulon. Again, conversions missed. I think there was only one try converted in the entire game. But Jaminet gets over and Toulon just starting to come back at Saints. But then Furbank is over for second. So now Saints beginning to stretch a little bit. But then we have a penalty from Hervé, and then Ribbons goes over for a try as well. And, Toulon now are kind of edging ahead as well. We got Jaminet also got a drop goal shortly after that actually, put them, looked like they were in, decent position there, I think it was 1915 at that stage, if I'm not wrong. And, it meant that Saints had to be able to try and go again. And they did that, putting on pressure. And Toulon, I don't know what happened, but they ended up with 2 yellow cards in a minute. So they're down to 13 players for the last 5 minutes of the game. And that, those extra players and that pressure the Saints are putting on tells, with Lockett going over with 3 minutes to go. Finn Smith then converts and Saints are able to see out the rest of the game. And Lockett score as well. His try was the 4th try, so they got the bonus point out of that as well. Final score is 22-19. Toulon, they've had 2 close games now, but they've lost both of them. And they've got to win at least one to have any chance of qualifying. So decent performances maybe from them, but that ability to win close games doesn't seem to be there. And maybe it's something to do with the step up maybe from Challenge Cup to Champions Cup. They were Challenge Cup winners last year, but at this level, most of your mistakes are going to get punished, and you're not going to get that many chances either to close out and to win games. And Saints took their chances really well in this one. They got the 4 tries that they needed, and now we'll move on to the next one. So next then was an early game, another Friday game, and it was Bayonne versus Glasgow. So this was Bayonne 11, Glasgow 12. So, start off, it's kind of both teams feeling each other out really. No scores in the first quarter, but then Xander Fagerson gets a yellow card as Bayonne are putting pressure on that Warriors defence. They decide they'll open the scoring from the tee. Lopez pops over the penalty, that came from that came along with the yellow card, should I say. Then 5 minutes later, Bosch is over to score a try, and it's looking decent for Bayonne, leading 8-0. But then just before half time, Glasgow rally a little bit. Miller gets over, and Thompson, he converts it. So half time is 8-7. 1 point game, and it's already feeling like every point is absolutely going to count in this one. Into second half then, Lopez, another penalty from him, and that gives Bayonne just a little bit of breathing room. 11-7, 4-point margin. But then about 25 minutes to go or so, Warriors got over for another try. Josh Mackay is the scorer there, and now they're slightly ahead. Then as we get into the final quarter, Bayonne, they start looking for the score that will win it for them, whether it's a penalty, a try, or a drop goal. They get themselves within position, but still not a gimme. They get a penalty with about 15 minutes to go, and Hodge misses it, but they keep up the pressure. 5 minutes to go, they get another penalty, but Hodge misses again. And if you had got either of those, it certainly would have been, I think, enough to win it for them. But in the end, it's Warriors who get a precious away win. And after getting a bit of a drubbing from Saints in the first round, this really was a little bit of redemption for them. And a little bit of kind of credit has to go to this squad as well, because they've gone away to France now. They won, and people say, oh, it's only Bayonne, but it's the same team that went to Thomond Park and got a draw over there as well. So it's a decent result for them, I would say, overall. And now Glasgow right back in it, but we'll talk about the pool a little bit later, because it's an interesting pool. A lot of the pools now are in interesting positions. Next, then we have two Titans going head to head. You have the Stormers versus La Rochelle. Both of them had lost their first game, so you would have after this, one of the best teams in the competition was going to be on 2 defeats, unless obviously there was a draw. But Stormers, the runners-up in the URC last season, the winners of that competition the season before. La Rochelle, winners of this competition for the last 2 seasons, runners-up in the top 14 last year as well. It was 21-20 to the Stormers, so La Rochelle, 2 defeats out of 2. Now, I don't think anybody saw that coming, but they did come up against 2 massive teams. And I talked about as well before that, if there was anything like a pool of death in this competition with this format, it's this pool here, and it's shaping up to be that way as well. But, they actually started very well for La Rochelle. They had Astoy scores a penalty after 2 minutes. Then even better, Kerballo gets over to score a try after 6 minutes. Astoy converts that. So within 10 minutes, they've got a 10-point lead. Then just before halftime, we get, first of all, Lebock puts the Stormers on the board with a penalty with 5 minutes to go. Then shortly after the restart of that, Astoy pops over a penalty for La Rochelle to just edge them, back to those 10 points ahead. But then right in the stroke of halftime, Lebock, another penalty from him, keeps the Stormers in the game. It's 13-6 at halftime to La Rochelle. Into the second half then, and Lebock with another penalty, just Stormers begin to creep back into it. But then Tanga goes over to score for La Rochelle. Astoy tags on the extras as well from the tee. And, given how tight the game is, you would feel that, La Rochelle, if they get another try, or if they get another couple of penalties, it's probably going to be enough to win the game for them. As it turned out, though, it was, it was the Stormers who start to come back. We have Ben Loader goes over for a try, about 10 minutes after the start of the second half. So Stormers, back within touching distance, but then La Rochelle gets themselves in position for Astoy to have a go at a drop goal. He misses that one, and but the clock is ticking down all the time for Stormers. But then they're putting on massive pressure. Sclavy gets a yellow card with 5 minutes to go. He's in the bin, and then the extra man, and that pressure tells. We got Venter going over, 2 minutes to go. Then Lebock uses up every second that he can, pretty much, on the clock for the conversion, and nails the conversion from out wide as well. And that conversion was the winning kick for the game. 21-20, Stormers win. And you got to give Lebock credit, because he got a lot of stick in the World Cup, and also kind of the tail end of last season for the Stormers in terms of his kicking from the tee. And I don't think he deserves much of the criticism that he got, because he is a fine kicker from the tee. I think a fair criticism would be that when in very high pressure situations, he has a tendency maybe to miss kicks that he's been getting, season in, season out in the URC. Like hasn't been the top scorer in the URC for nothing. He hasn't been, every point he's gotten hasn't been from straight in front of the post. But this pressure kick, getting this one, would probably help him in terms of his confidence in similar situations in the future. On to the next game then, and this was a bit of a blowout. Saracens 55, Connacht 36. First half was fairly close. You had Gonzalez goes over like in the first 10 minutes for Saracens, and then Connacht, they respond with a try from Bundyaki. Then you have Farrell penalty, nudges Saracens back ahead. Caelan Blade then goes over for Connacht. Connacht staying in the fight, but then 8-minute period before half time, Jamie George gets 2 tries there, and Sarries go into the break crucially leading 21-17, but still a close game into the second half then. And Hartley, Ollie Hartley that is, goes over to score within a couple of minutes of the restart. Then you got Maitland and Luna go over pretty much like back to back. Like Maitland scored, and then Luna pretty much from the restart after that, he goes over as well. We do have a little bit of response from Connacht, where Hanrahan goes over to score a try for them. But then we got Ollie Hartley gets a second, and at this stage, Saracens have pretty much already won the game. Joe Joyce, though, does get over to get a bonus point for Connacht, bringing up the 4 tries. And then Theo Dan just adding an extra, score for Saracens. As I said, the game was already over at that stage. And then Connacht, they do have the final say. Keane Prendergast going over, but it's only a consolation try. So Connacht got 1 point out of the game, but Saracens much the better of the two teams, taking the 5 points. On to the next game then, and this one was Bordeaux Begley versus Bristol Bears. So, and this was, first half very one-sided affair. Bordeaux, they get over for a try after 4 minutes. It's converted. Then, we have a penalty back from the Bears, but from the restart, after that, Biel Biauri, he gets over to score. Then Damien Pinot is over as well. Like 2 amazing wingers to have for that team, and they really were a big part of the danger that Bordeaux had in this game. And halftime they're leading 22-3 and looking like they're pretty much cruising in the game into the second half then. And we have a try from Tapuai, I think his name is. He gets over for Bordeaux, and they're stretched out the lead. We do then have a try back for the Bears, but then Nanette goes over for Bordeaux, and they're just kind of, keeping the Bears at arm's length, really. Like Lennon does get over for a kind of late-ish try as well for the Bears, but the game is done and dusted at that stage. And, Bordeaux, 5 points, bonus point win for them. Really good. Bears, not the best performance, but, in this competition, it really is all about winning at home, and then it really is a bonus if you get anything away from home. For them, sadly, this time didn't get anything. Next, then we have another close game. Lyon 29, the Bulls 28. So great start for the Bulls. Like Berger's over, in the first minute of the game, and looks like potentially they're gonna actually win away from home. We have Ethan Dumortier, another amazing French winger. He was so good in the Six Nations last year, and then BLBRE just came along and just took his World Cup place from him. But then Peterson is over for the Bulls. And all the while we have Chris Smith also popping over penalties for the Bulls as well. They end up, with a decent lead at halftime, 18-12. Into the second half then, we also had a try just before halftime from Lyon as well. That was Pacheco, I think is the guy's name. I can't pronounce his name properly, but yeah, he gets over, but it's still a 6 point lead for the Bulls at half time. Into the second half then, and Parisien is over for Lyon as they're beginning to eat into that Bulls lead. Then they go ahead with the bonus point try from Charkosit, and it's from here the game kind of swings back and forth between them. Like Paddy Jackson, he got the conversion there as well, to bring it up to, what was it, 24, right? They were at 24 points at that stage, but then Bulls are able to get over through Van Staden, and Chris Smith converts that one. And now the Bulls are back with a point, the Bulls are back ahead. But then they don't hold the lead for very long. Regar goes over with, about 10 minutes to go for Lyon. Conversions missed, but they do have a 1 point lead. And, there is time for the Bulls to have one last chance with Van der Walt. With a penalty, but it's off target. If it had gone over, it would have been a real smash and grab, I think, from the Bulls to win it right at the death. But an away point for them, a losing bonus point, is pretty decent. Pity for them, really, that they couldn't get that fourth try though to make it at least two losing bonus points. But I still think they're in a decent position in the pool. On to next game then. So this was Leinster versus Sale Sharks. So Sale sent over a much changed side, and they really put it up to Leinster. Leinster, everybody expecting to just steamroll them, and it didn't happen. It was actually the Sharks. They got over for the first try through Conor Doherty, and we do have, just before the break, Josh van der Fleur gets over for Leinster, and that really kind of brought them back into the game, because Sharks had a healthy, pretty healthy lead coming up to half time. It was like 13-6, and then van der Fleur is over to make it 13-11 at the break. Then Leinster do what they do very often, they'd score just before half time, they scored just after half time. Gibson Park goes over, and that puts Leinster in the lead. And then it feels like Leinster start taking control. We have scores from Ryan Bird, Henshaw, Bird, and then Healy. So they've got the bonus point wrapped up. But then, the final kind of 3 minutes of the game, whatever happened to Leinster, like the defence just went out the window. They got caught really for pace on the left wing. Hugo Keenan gets a yellow card. Then Taylor goes over from a maul, and then Curtis from a break as they get caught again for pace out wide. And, makes it look very respectable for Sale. I think that was fair. I think Sale's performance definitely deserved that. Leinster, still a lot of work for them to do to hit top gear. But, if you're not playing your best and you're winning, that's not a terrible place to be, at least at this point of the season. Later on in the season, these kind of performances aren't going to be good enough. But at this stage, it's doing well for them. Next time we have Cardiff 32, Bath 39. So Cardiff, unfortunately for them, they're a bit of a soft touch in this competition, but they at least put in decent performance. It's a young Cardiff team, and they did score 4 tries. We had Adams going over after 4 minutes. Cockney responds within a couple of minutes for Bath. Then Ollie Lawrence goes over for Bath to put them ahead. Adams then gets a second try. Then Barbary is over a couple of minutes later for Bath. And then you have Tom Dunn going over as well, maybe about 5 or 6 minutes after that. Bath now have the bonus point wrapped up before half time. But then Hamer Webb, Hamer Webb, I think it is, goes over for Cardiff before the break. And Cardiff, just about edging at 25-24 at the break. Into the second half, then it gets even better for them. Ben Thomas is over for a try, and they're at 32-24 at that stage, and it's one of these ones where it feels like they just need another score and then just have decent defence, but they don't really have either, unfortunately for them, in the last kind of 10 or 15 minutes. And in that period, like a 5-minute period from about the 65th minute, Jacko Kutza gets over for 2 tries for Bath, and they're able to basically overhaul Cardiff and get themselves ahead. And then Cardiff just can't find any response after that. They do get a losing bonus point and a try bonus point out of it as well, but 2 points at home isn't going to be enough to see you through, especially if you're not performing on the road. Bath, though, a decent win for them. Next time we have Ulster 31, Racing 15, so a little bit of redemption for Ulster in this one. Nick Timley over after a couple of minutes. Stuart McCluskey then stretches the lead, and you have John Cooney hitting his conversions as well, which was important in terms of just eking out that lead as well. LeGarrick then responds for Racing, but no conversion for them. And then Matty Ray over just before half time, and looking decent for Ulster at the break, 21-5. Into the second half then, Timony gets a second within about 5 minutes of the restart. And we do have a couple of tries from Tarrant for Racing, but again, no conversions means that they're not eating into that Ulster lead as much as they really should. And then a John Cooney penalty then just makes it doubly sure, with about 10 minutes to go, the Ulster are going to take the win out of that one. So bonus point win for them. A decent response after pretty much abject performance really against Bath in the first round for Ulster, but Racing now they look like they're in a little bit of trouble. On to next one then, and this is Exeter Chiefs 32, Munster 24. So Munster, have they done in so many games recently, they start really well. Calvin Nash, he's so elusive, he gets over to score. Then you have Tom Ahern, gets over as well. He's been, a really good kind of addition to the front line of the Munster pack, I'd say, this season. In between those, though, you had Dan Frost going over for Exeter, and a Henry Slade penalty just after that as well. And it's looking like it's going to be kind of close at the break, but then Anton Frisch goes over with a couple of minutes to go to the break, and Munster have a healthy lead, 19-10 at half time. Into the second half then, Henry Slade penalty for Exeter reduces that lead, but then Shane Daly gets over for the bonus point try for Munster, and they're looking really good. Like they're 24-13 at that stage. It looks like all they've got to do is basically produce a decent last quarter, but Munster have failed to do that on so many occasions this year, and this is another one where they just fell off in that last quarter. I don't know what is going on with them, but they don't seem to do second halves very well so far this season. And in that final quarter especially, 3 tries from Exeter in that period. Vincent, then Dunn goes over pretty much from the restart after that try, and then right a couple of minutes to go, Slade gets over as well for the try that basically guaranteed Exeter the win and denied Munster a losing bonus point as well. So Munster take just a 1 point from the game for the 4 tries, but Exeter, they got 4 tries themselves, so they take 5 points from that one. On to the next game then, and this is Harlequins 19, Toulouse 47. So, Quins, we've seen them against Racing, where that kind of style, buccaneering style to have, kind of suits them against Racing because they get a lot of opportunities. But I knew against Toulouse it was probably going to work against them, because Toulouse are the best teams in the Northern Hemisphere, at least, or in this competition, including the South African teams, on turnover ball. They're just so good at it, and they showed it in this one as well. Quins gave them a lot of chances to really show that, but it was ding dong affair. Had Barassi goes over after 6 minutes, then Esterhazen responds for Quins, but then we have Delebe is over, pretty much from the restart of that one. Then coming up to we have a yellow card then for Peter Aki, but Harlequins can't really do anything in that period. Toulouse see it out, and then just before half time, then Mauvaka gets over to score for them. Then we have Herbst gets over for Harlequins as well. So then, half time it's 21-12 to Toulouse, but then into the second half, we have, Labelle is over for Toulouse. Herbst gets over as well for Quins. And, it feels like, it's going to be close, but then Toulouse, quality side that they are, just start to put the hammer down, and Barassi is over for a second try. Then the last 10 minutes, then we have Neti and Tomo Ramos getting over for further tries. So, it's 7 tries, I think, for Toulouse in that one. Quins didn't quite get their 4th try, unfortunately for them. And, final score was Quins 19, Toulouse 47. In the end, looks comfortable on the scoreboard for Toulouse, but, it was a bit ding-dong for the first half and into part of the second half as well. But Toulouse just ease away in the end. And then the final game, I think, of the weekend, Sunday game, was Stade Francais 24, Leicester Tigers 27. So, Stade are one of those teams who they never really perform up to their potential in this competition. This is another one where it felt like that happened to them here as well. Leicester got over for a try within the first 10 minutes. We then have that was Vans, I think. He actually got a hat-trick in the game, and Harlequins gets over in response for Stade. Then we had a penalty as well from Sagon, and we had a yellow card as well for Charlie Atkinson in after 19 minutes, but Tigers were able to see out that period, and then just before half time, then Laloy gets over to score for Stade, but it's Tigers who are leading at the break. It's 14 points to 10 to them, and we go into the second half then, and we got Vans completes his hat-trick. He scored 7 minutes 45 and then 53 for him, and that Tigers just beginning to kind of stretch away a little bit from Stade, but then Stade with 20 minutes to go, Leo Bar gets over for them. It's converted as well, which means they're right on Tigers' coattails, but the game, I think it was 24-all right at that stage, I think. But then Tigers, Shillock, he gets a penalty with about 15 minutes to go that puts Tigers ahead, and then they're able to just see out the rest of the game, and it's a really good win for them. Stade just couldn't produce that moment that would either get them a draw or get them the win, but this Tigers squad are beginning to look, I'm not going to say they're as good as the Tigers teams that have won this competition in the past, but they're beginning to get into that mold where they're winning games like this, whereas I think this Leicester team in previous seasons, we've seen them kind of have decent performance but then get blown away. They seem to be a little bit tougher and harder to beat this season, so let's see if that continues. But those are the games. Next we're going to have a look at the pools. So we're going to start with Pool 1. So you got Bordeaux Begley leading the way on 10 points. Don't think anyone was expecting that to happen, honestly. When you look at this pool, if you were to pick one team to be on the top there, I don't think too many people would have picked them. Lyon there in second place, and it's such a competitive pool that Bordeaux are the only team who've actually won both of the games so far. So Lyon on 7 points. You got the Bulls there on 5 points. Saracens also on 5, on Bristol on 5, and in Connacht a little bit of drift there on 1 point. And now basically for Connacht, everything is do or die. They've got to win their last 2 games because of the way all the other results have gone. I can't see them, even if they win with a bonus point and then pick up a bonus point away from home. I don't think 7 points is going to be enough to qualify out of this pool, just because there's so many teams already on 5 or more points. So the only chance really for Connacht is 2 wins. I'd say Bordeaux, you can count them as being qualified for the knockout stages, and then at the minute, unless there's a miracle for Connacht, it's basically 3 of the other 4 in the pool are going to go through with them. On to Pool 2 then, we got both Stade and Bath at the top there, both on 10 points. And then we got Ulster and Quins 5 points each, and Racing and Cardiff 2 points each. And it feels like that's how this group is going to end up, is Stade and Bath seem to be the two best teams in the pool. I'd imagine Stade are probably going to win the pool, but Bath could surprise us and pip them to it. And it looks like, Ulster and Quins are the best of the rest, and they should go through to qualify. Cardiff, they're a young team. If they were to qualify, it'd be amazing for them. But it's hard to see them being able to do that, because even though they performing in games, are not winning, and the same for Racing as well. On to Pool 3 then. Got the Saints and Exeter at the top there, both on 9 points, 2 wins out of 2. You got Glasgow next on 4 points with that 1 win. Bayonne with their draw, and then they got a bonus point as well. And they're with Munster in 5th place on this pretty much the same record, and then you have Toulon at the bottom there, 2 defeats for them and only 2 match points. So this one, I'd say again, Saints and Exeter, they should be qualified with 9 points, and they probably will pick up at least 1 more point before the pool is done. So you can kind of count both of those into the round of 16. And then of the others, Warriors definitely have a decent chance, just because they have that 1 win, and I think if they get a second win, they will make it there. Munster, they got to win the home game, but then if they don't pick up anything on the road to go on top of that, they're then looking for other results to go their way, and they're basically looking for the English teams and Warriors to do them a favour against Bayonne and Toulon. So, URC champions in a little bit of trouble. They do have the wherewithal to dig themselves out of the hole, but they'd obviously rather not be in the hole in the first place. But they've got to perform. They've got to produce the result, not just the performance. And if they've got to play for the full 80 minutes, I think that's really one of the big things wrong with that team. On to Pool 4 then. Leinster and Leicester Tigers leading the way. Always great when those two are in the same pool or playing each other, because it can be a bit of a tongue twister between them. But both won their opening 2 games, and again, you count them into the round of 16, and for them it's just about, like all the other teams who've won both of the games, it's about now jostling for those seedings and home draws. Next then we have Sale Sharks and the Stormers on 4 points. Then we have La Rochelle on 2 points, and Stade on 1 point, both having lost both of the games. So this one is very interesting, because you look at that and you see defending champions La Rochelle potentially going for 3 wins in a row in this, or 3 titles in a row, should I say, in this competition, and at the moment they're not qualifying. And if you're Sale Sharks and Stormers, you're probably thinking, well, if La Rochelle are going to go on and qualify, then one of us is going to miss out. So now you've got a little kind of mini competition almost between Sale Sharks and the Stormers, in terms of who can actually pick up more points out of those two, because it would be a huge shock for La Rochelle to be eliminated at the pool stages when it's 4 out of 6 teams going through. So yeah, I do expect La Rochelle to get through from here, and it could be at the expense of Sale, because they've now got to play Leicester and Sale in the last 2 games, and if they beat Sale, that might be enough to actually give Stormers the edge if they can pick up points. I'd imagine that Stormers will pick up points against Stade Francais. At this stage, it's looking like maybe Stormers and La Rochelle will be their 2 qualifiers, but if Sharks can beat La Rochelle, then just completely turns it on its head. So exciting times ahead, I think, is the way to kind of leave this one off for now. So I hope you enjoyed that one. We'll have a preview of actually URC rugby coming up, but when this competition returns as well, we have a preview of round 3. That's, I think, it's going to be in January, right? But yeah, if you wouldn't mind, hit that like button, share, comment, all that kind of stuff that the algorithm loves. And thank you again for watching the video.